Martin, Chuck, I appreciate you joining me today.
Hey Jimmy, good to be with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you making time. I know you're a busy guy. Talking to other golf pros like myself, we're all kind of trapped at home or trying to think of ways to reach out to our members and our golfers. So I appreciate it very much.
Oh no, it's my pleasure. Glad to do it. It's odd times. I hope everybody's staying safe and making the best use of this time. I know I've had a lot of online lessons, and it's been fun helping people at home. I way rather help them on the grass than at home, but we do the best we can, right?
Yeah, for sure. You got to adapt, and we can still work on our golf game.
Yeah.
So I know a bunch about you. If you don't mind, I know you're from Canada. You're kind of used to the snow in the winter and kind of how you
Yeah.
grew up, got into the game.
Well, I always say where I live now, I cannot shovel sunshine. So I live in Phoenix, Arizona. This is where we do our golf school primarily. So all winter long, from the end of October through the 1st of May, we do a 3-day camp, and it's mostly a vacation golfers camp. It's people, from Michigan or Canada or the Northwest, all parts that want to kind of escape the winter, come down, work hard on their game for 3 days. So we run a camp at the Raven Golf Club, pretty convenient to the Sky Harbor Airport. And it's a lot of fun. So we see a new group of people every week, a lot of club members from all over the United States, Canada, even Europeans and Far Easterners come out to the golf school. I grew up, like you said, in Canada, in Toronto, not too far from you. First love was ice hockey. Still play men's league ice hockey.
Nice.
I've got 2 kids. My little guy plays hockey. My daughter is into dance and gymnastics. My wife took up golf late in life. She's getting pretty good, which is fun to watch. My son's actually a good little golfer too. So my mentors in Toronto, a famous Canadian guy named George Newton, and another really well-known kind of a savant of golf, Mo Norman. And I've always had a love of the game. I tried to play for a few years after college and enjoyed that. And then I got in the member services side, being a club pro, teaching pro, and now I'm a full-time teacher and run a golf school. And some of your members might have used some of my training products. So I've got a golf training product line that's been going well. And again, it's in the intent of helping golfers kind of understand things and hit the ball a little bit better, have a bit more fun playing golf.
Yeah, I appreciate those training aids, because the number one thing we fight a lot of times as teachers is getting players to number 2 things: to feel the change, which your training
Right.
aids do a great job, and then also they can use it when we're not there, so they can
Yeah.
practice. Guarantee they're practicing the right feelings on the driving range. And your training aids, to be honest, got guys on tour using them, like Roy McIlroy is using the Playmate with his wedges. You got Justin Rose using the Smart Ball with his full swing. And that just gives you guys so much credibility. The
Well,
training,
thank you.
yeah, I mean, the training aids you guys produce are great because they're addressing the main needs that you and I see every day on the driving range.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that's what you're like, all right, we need to figure out a way to get these players to feel this, because I'm seeing the exact same swings every day.
Yeah, it's a little like going to the dentist. You're going to see crooked teeth and cavities, right? And
Yeah.
so on the driving range with most golf swings, we're going to see golfers that really have kind of a lazy turn, don't really rotate and manage their arms. We're going to see wrist conditions. Club golfers, I'm 51 now. Most club golfers are kind of my age, maybe a little bit older. You get the lazy man's golf swing. They don't elevate. They're too pinned in here. And so that's where the Playmate came about. And the Playmate, I wish I could show you one. I don't have one in my garage right now. I actually loaned it to a student. But as coaches, we see the common issues, right? We see a lot of bad left-hand grips or lead-hand grips. So we try to get hands more organized. We try to keep width in golf swings. We try to take out as many variables as we can that are kind of these unnecessary things, because whatever you wind up, you have to unwind. So if you wind things up and it's a little more predictable and a little less, complex, you're going to be more reliable getting the golf club back to the golf ball. So, it sounds kind of simple, really, in that if you can create a golfer that has a nice routine, can walk into a golf ball, look at the target, create a nice radius of their arms and club to a golf ball, know what a waggle does, and then know how to have a bit of relaxation, know how to have a swing that has a bit of width, then they're going to be more reliable down at the bottom. And nobody's perfectly reliable. Like, I've had a chance to play a little golf lately because, obviously I'm not as busy as I would be at this time of year. And, I've played I've played more golf in the last few weeks because courses are open in Arizona, naturally, with some social distancing policies and so forth. But it's funny how, I can get on a run of really good ball striking, like hitting my driver solid in play and then hitting a nice looking iron shot into a place on the green that I intended to hit it to. Like, wow, okay, I'm still pretty good. And then, yesterday I played with some buddies, and the front nine, I made 4 birdies, and I'm starting to feel like, hey, I'm pretty good. And then the back nine, all of a sudden I made I got into my head a bit about how nicely I'm hitting it, and then I made some silly bogeys with, wedges in my hands because I'm too aggressive. And so golf is a funny way of, when you get up, it kind of puts you back in place, and you get back up, it smacks you back down, right? Yep. So, I had to laugh at myself because I kind of got a little ahead of myself, a little out of my routine, because I was playing really well, rather than just sticking to the rhythm of, okay, what's a reasonable target? Yeah, you might be hitting it well today, but don't go for silly pins when the middle of the green's only 20 feet away from the pin. Simple things like that it's funny that I coach and yet I even get away from, right? Yep. And it's just like, okay, man, stick with the plan. Your plan was, it worked really well in the front nine. The back nine, you got a little greedy with, some short irons in your hands. The next thing you know, you're short-sighted. You can't get up and down. You make a 5 on an easy par 4 that you were 120 yards away from the pin on. So simple, frustrating things in golf that we all deal with.
It's amazing how our minds, no matter who we are always get in the way. It's like you see an average club guy, is a guy that's usually shooting 82. He's in a position to shoot 74, 75, and he'll go double bogey to finish.
Right.
Thinking about it, and he's out of his comfort zone, and it happens to all of us. It's crazy. This game is right here.
Oh no, it is. It's and that's why a lot of what I teach, besides technique, is really routine. Yeah. And it's and my son's a good little golfer, and it's funny is we had a little father-son match on the weekend, and nice. My one buddy's a club pro, and his son's a really good player, and then so my son and I played, and what I take pleasure in is, like, I could care less if my son hits a good shot or a bad shot. I just take pleasure in the process of the shot. Okay, so to watch my son choose a club, kind of take a look, and then walk in and settle in nicely and take a look and have a nice waggle. If you see that, you're like, man, that 10-year-old looks like he's a tour player. Now, the swing obviously doesn't look like a tour player. It's pretty good, mind you. But more often than not, if you have a good process and a nice routine, the stuff that surrounds that is going to be good. Most people have a poor routine and they have very little, positive process. So I sound like I'm more of a shrink than anything else, but as a golf coach, guess what? We're technicians and we're also sports psychologists, because if we can get somebody into a nice routine, and there's way more to it than that, and I'll go over some of the meat and potatoes of it, but that in itself, that's a calming sense to the subconscious, and it kind of puts you in a switch of, a nice game mode rather than just swing mode. Right. I want to play golf. I don't want to play golf swing. I want my brain to think target. And, yesterday I got too aggressive a couple of times, but I want to think, reasonable targets, aggressive swings to reasonable targets, not, cautious swings to inappropriate targets.
Yeah, so. I love that. I mean, to me, when players play their best, their swing thoughts are like none. They're playing golf. And I think you can one swing thought maybe, but a lot of guys are trying to think of like step 1, step 2, step 3, and that just doesn't work, because now you're playing golf swing instead of playing the golf. Yeah, and it's huge. It's a big transition where you need to switch off the practice driving range mode to let's go play. Yeah,
and it's to that, like Andrew Rice, my good buddy, we do golf schools all the time, and part of when we do our traveling golf schools, I shouldn't say all the time, 4 or 5 times a year, but a lot of, and I do it at my golf school too, and I know he does it at his, when we a lot of what people call it practice swings, okay? And I call them priming swings because I believe that, say you're working with one of your students and they have, some wrist condition thing that makes them unreliable, and you're working at it, and through video and maybe like a launch monitor that when they do something that is less chaotic at the top, they have better results, okay? And so when they practice that, they get maybe a little bit better. Well, I like to show people how to bridge that to the golf course. So the feeling, I'll demonstrate just because I can do it right here.
Yeah.
The example would be, as a coach, you've identified with your students, Mr. or Mrs. Member, that, if this shaft rotates excessively, they lose control of the face, and now their brain says, oh man, the subconscious, here's where I'll go with this, is that every swing is a snowflake, no two swings are the same. And every swing is a series of compensations. Now, the compensations can be somewhat simple, okay? So these compensations have become simple for me, okay? Like juggling 3 balls, like there's massive compensations, weighing, tossing, adjusting. Those compensations are highly manageable for me, okay? Because I've practiced, the balls don't come out the same way every time, so I can manage those compensations. Now, and here'd be like if say I took this ball, okay, here's a foam ball, it doesn't weigh as much. Now I'm adding in complexity because one of them's way lighter.
For sure.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, as a golf swing, if you have a student that, does a bunch of things that takes the golf club in a place that isn't relative to where the ball is, now in that event, they've got to get back to the golf ball. Those compensations are hard to manage in 1.3 seconds.
For sure.
A golf swing, from the time you take it back to hitting the golf ball, if you're really good, it's maybe a second. If you're kind of slower human, maybe it's 1.4 seconds, but it's a pretty quick event. And it's a blend between conscious and subconscious, okay? So the more that you can let the subconscious be at ease, the easier golf is. And so good coaches go, okay, well, this person has all these funky behaviors that they've got to unwind on the way to the golf ball. The back of the house, the subconscious brain, is working really hard to make that reliable. And there's no way it's going to be reliable when you add in wind, hills, different lies, all those conditions that we face when we play golf, right? So a good teacher is going to go, okay, let's soften up this situation to where the A to B back to the golf ball, from the top of the swing back to the golf ball, has fewer compensations.
Yep.
So now you and your students say, okay, yeah, we've got that figured out. This is good. Now they can stand there in a range and they can hit 37 irons, okay? And maybe out of the 37 irons, maybe 15 of them are pleasing, and 10 of them are and 5 of them are awful, okay? So you got 50% pleasing, 10 of them are okay, 5 are awful. How does that person go? Now they have one chance when they go to the fairway on the first hole, okay?
Yep.
How do they better bridge the gap? Well, I like to call it a priming swing, meaning that if you take cellophane, okay, and I use this expression, if you take a piece of cellophane off the roll, you've got one, flexible see-through thing that you can wrap around your tuna sandwich, and it keeps it fresh for an hour, right?
Yep.
Now that's what I call a primer, because every time a student, if I'm going to hit this golf ball, now they have this shot, they found their measure, maybe they hit 7 iron 120 yards or 140 or whatever they hit it, and they go, okay, here's what I'm working on with Jimmy. And in that little pausey event right there, Jimmy, is somebody that maybe for the millisecond you didn't notice what I did there, but I paused, I reinforced. Maybe it was wrist conditions, maybe it was arms, maybe it was width, okay?
Sure.
And it can be this fast. It can be something that is mindful in that fast, and maybe it has a casual follow through to it. Then there's always a breath and a commitment to a target, and then walk in and hit the golf ball. Well, what that little pause and mindful practice swing was, or primer swing, is one piece of cellophane. And then say you do that on the next hole, and you do it on the next hole. So there's 40 full swings in a round of golf, give or take.
Yep.
Okay, so you've just primed the work you've done with you 40 times while you played, and nobody really knows what you're doing. Because if I hit a shot like this, just chair it away. if I hit a shot where I'm behind the ball and I prime a feeling, okay, and me, it's just making sure that I have a nice deep turn, and that's my primer feel. And then I take my breath and I walk in and I've primed it and I'm target focused. I take my breath. I kind of walk in and take a look, waggle, settle in, hit a shot. Whether the shot's, I'm prepared for a shot to be good, bad, or indifferent every time I hit it.
Sure.
Okay, but what I'm not prepared for is a failure of the process that goes into what's going to give me good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, and I think you see that with better players, that they start to figure out how important that process is, because then they can repeat it under pressure. And like you can see it with Tiger Woods. Last year, he would make a move where it was a little bit of like a Corey Pavin.
Mm-hmm.
Not top, but he was feeling that because his tendency is to get this way. And he would do exactly what you're saying.
Absolutely. And so you see a ton of players that have motions that look nothing like the real swing, but all those motions do is instill the feelings that they're trying to get from their successful practice to link it to how they can perform on the golf course. And it's in so many club golfers, they don't really know how to walk into a shot, how to waggle nicely, it's something that I think junior golfers that develop into really high level players, they get it from mimicking better players. Like if a junior golfer happens to be around another really good junior, or a junior golfer gets to play with a quote club champion or high level player at the club, a little keen kid is going to watch intently, and they have this respect for the player's ability, right? And they'll see how the person kind of walks in and looks and waggles and has a sense of calm. And so they mimic it, right? I think coaches need to kind of express it. And with juniors, I don't say much. I'm more deliberate in my positions so that they can, and I'm slower, so they have a better chance of kind of looking at that and taking mental pictures and copying, because they're really good at copying. The less I say, the better it is, because the more words, it adds to confusion. Now, adults are okay processing words, at a higher level than kids are. So with adults, I use more words, but I'll still be very particular in, expressing what radius is, what waggle is, what routine is, why they may be a little bit more unreliable. Sometimes, the adults we work with you're younger than me, but, at my age and older, their mobility isn't very good. So as a coach, if they're prepared to make a mobility change, fine. I'll help them find a trainer locally. And, we both use our training app Coach Now, which is fantastic. And I have a bunch of students where once they have a trainer they like, guess what I do? I invite the trainer in, the trainer can see their golf swing. And now the trainer, if they're really into it, they can kind of scroll through and they can look at the golf swings and the movement pattern changes, right? Because golf's a movement pattern change, or it's a movement pattern. And as a coach, we're trying to help them change it a little bit so they get a little bit better. Now we're talking, I don't want to scare your members by listening to this, right? But they come to take a lesson. They think it's going to be just like a magic wand, doink, here, do this, alakazam, and now you're going to be way better. No, good golf is like a deeper understanding and application. So, once people know, okay, yeah, well, I played really good when, okay, I played really good when I felt loose arms or whatever it was, and they maybe had this situation where their rhythm was nice, their tempo was nice, they hit a lot of more predictable shots. Good. Okay, I want you to have that. Here's how we get back to that, and here's how we build upon it. And so that's always kind of training your body to move a little bit differently and move a little bit more reliably. And that's what a golf coach's job is to do.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in the past 5-6 years that as a golf coach I've come to realize is it's not obviously always about positions. You can take a better player and be like, I want you to have an intent that you're going to try to hit a draw without me saying how to do it. Just, I want you to intend to hit a draw, and it makes their body start to move in a behavior that I want without me saying, get in this position here, do this. that intention of trying to hit a certain shot, which obviously a guy that's a 20 handicap can't do yet, but a better player can do that. And then I think that's a feeling he can take to the golf course and say, all right, I'm going to feel this intention today, because you're taking a feeling instead of I'm going to feel my right wrist do this or whatever. And I think that's important.
Yeah. And I would also say that, I mean, you'd be surprised. Like there's like the elements of practice. You've got, you know, you've got technique.
Yep.
Okay. So any practice session, you're going to have hopefully some technique involved. And those are slow swings, very thought based on, okay, maybe it's a grip change or wrist conditions or arms or whatever it is, or the way you settle into a shot. And you're not too worried about the outcome of the shot. Okay. And technique, you know, is maybe 30% of a session. So if you're going to go practice for an hour, okay, 30% of a hour would be based on technique. Most club golfers go to a session and it's either way too much of the time is based on technique and being, you know, wrapped up internally on a swing position. But it's necessary. You still have to do some technique changes, and your coach has some drill for you to do, and that's a big deal. Where I think most people lose it, they don't have the skill, they don't have fun. So to your point about hitting a draw and a fade or a hook and a slice, right? Like a lot of people can slice it. A lot of people can't hit an intentional hook when they want to. They can just get hit like, whoa, I do that every once in a while. I don't know why I do it, right? But, you know, when you have a club face, okay, and so I'll take a golfer, like a new golfer, and I'll aim them. We'll talk about right-hander here. And instead of aiming straight, I'll aim them to the right quite a bit, and I'll aim their face straight, and I'll let their club kind of travel where they're aiming, and I'll let their face start the ball sort of straightish, and explain how they can manufacture like a crazy hook. Okay, so even a new golfer can start to figure out, well, if I aim myself way, way, way over here, you know, my swing is going to the right, but if the club face, you know, is pointed more at the camera with that event, now the ball's going to friction and want to go that way.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people don't really understand the relationships, right? They just see the outcome, but they don't really understand the relationships. And then conversely, a lot of them have this anyway, right? And they hit a fade. And so through skill and being playful, and I can remember the day, and I remember the time of day and the weather, and you know, I was already a fairly keen junior golfer, but I remember the mentor who taught me this. Okay, it was an assistant pro guy. I hit a shot. It was a par 5. I hit my second shot down the right side of the hole. There was kind of a bunch of trees there, thick enough you couldn't kind of go through. I was maybe 100 yards out, and I'm looking at this like, man, I don't have a shot. And he goes, oh no, you do. You got a shot. And he called it the snipe. He goes, let me show you the snipe.
Yeah.
And it was a crappy day, so there's nobody on the golf course, you know, so we kind of had the course to ourselves. And so this young man, probably 20 something, showed me how to hit this wicked ropey hook with a pitching wedge around these trees that could bobble up near or on the green, right? Kind of like how Bubba Watson won the Masters in 2011 against Louis Oosthuizen, okay? Because Bubba, you know, he's a lefty, so he hooked it in the treble. He got down in there and he hooked this crazy 52-degree wedge up to like 7 feet, right? Crazy shot. But the funny thing was, like, that shot's not crazy to me, because guess what? When I was a little kid, I learned how to have this extreme curve. And I can't tell you how many times I've pulled a Bubba Watson and amazed people by, you know, snipe hooking a sand wedge out of like a problem area from 110 or 115 away. Because it's no longer a 56-degree club. It's, you know, when you take a sand wedge with 56 degrees and turn the face down, you're really making it a short 7-iron.
Yep.
You know, so you got plenty of energy in your hands when you learn how to do that. You just got to learn how to govern the energy that comes out in the ball gets. But you know, that was a moment that I'm like, wow. I mean, that was such a fun thing, because I think a lot of people they think golf just was like, okay, down the middle, down the middle, down the middle. That's a great thought, but sorry, that's not how golf is a very random game. Ball goes everywhere. Okay. So once you start to have a bit of skill development, being a random and understanding these big things, because once you can do both of those, now you got a better idea of what can create a little bit more reliable ball going sort of forward. And then once you get this, you're more accepting of your misses too, because now you're like, well, okay, that wasn't a good drive. I'm in the trouble on the right or trouble on the left. But now you've got a skill to kind of hook one out of there, fade one out of there, get by the front of the green, use another skill, chip it up maybe to 5 feet, tap your putt it, and go, hey, I made par. You don't have to draw pictures on the scorecard. You know, yesterday I hit a 3-wood off my knees. Okay, in my round of golf, I seriously, like, I demonstrate, and I've never done that in my life on a golf course. Okay, but I demonstrate as a coach a lot of shots off my knees, because here's the interesting thing about it. When I hold a driver, and I'm really good at hitting off my knees, by the way, and so everybody that practices it for 5 minutes, just think about it. When the ball's teed up and it's out there, nobody gets really close to it. They all kind of create a comfortable radius and figure out how to measure to where that radius would be to this golf ball that's teed up and you're on your knees. And then nobody goes whap and sticks the club in the ground. And then some people do this though, thunk, and they kind of go and raise the handle and drop the club underneath and hit the ground. But within 5 or 10 swings, they're going, and they're hitting shots off their knees with their driver as straight as you can imagine, okay? So once I kind of explain, you know, what you wouldn't do just because it doesn't make sense to do it on your knees, people go, oh, okay, I can see that's a bit of a circle, and I can tip that circle over by standing up. And the other thing about that too is when the ball is elevated in the air up here, there is no target line. You're just a circle collecting a ball up here, right? There's no target line. When you stand up and you look down, now all of a sudden you're looking at what you perceive to be a target line, okay? So those are just interesting awarenesses for people. Like, yeah, I didn't think of it that way. And then, so yesterday I'm hitting it great, and I stand up on this hole, and I play this golf course a couple of times. So I'm not like 100% sure of the best strategy on this golf course. And I make a less committed swing. Actually, it wasn't a bad swing. Just ball went to the right, goes into the desert kind of area, and my ball's sitting there, and there's just like some kind of bush. I don't know what it is. I can hit it, but you know, I'm like, man, my teammate's in trouble. I got to make a par here. And I'm thinking, if I was just playing tournament golf, I'd just chip it into the fairway and wedge it on the green, probably make bogey, take my chances, making par. But I thought, you know, I couldn't stand normal, but I thought, geez, I remember I just saw a video of Seve getting on his knees, hitting the shot. It looked amazing, hit it on the green. So I'm like, you know, if I get down on my knees here, I can kind of hit this thing, you know? So I get my 3-wood out, and guys are kind of looking at me like I'm nuts. I've hit probably 500 balls off my knees in my life. That's a lot. Okay, so if you do something 500 times, you're probably not bad at it. So I'm thinking, all right, well, I'm gonna hit it. It's gonna scuttle out there, just like it would if I was just gonna hack wedge 25 yards, right? Worst case, because there's nothing in front of me. I just couldn't stand normal to it. So I kind of get down there, and the bush had a belly to it, so I had to get the club kind of underneath it. And I take the same, I mean, I couldn't have hit it any better. In fact, I hit it too hard. It rolled. I had to fade it too, which was nuts.
Nice.
I hit this fade, and it rolled through the green, over the green. I had a tough chip coming back, but when I hit it, I'm looking at myself, oh man, I just pulled off this crazy shot. And then I'm like going stitch because it was too hot. It rolled through the green into a tricky area. I made bogey anyway, but it was a cool shot, and I pulled, you know, to a degree, I pulled it off. If it would have came off a bit softer, I really would have upset the dudes I was playing with. But they were like, wow, it was pretty cool.
It's crazy to see like better players like yourself and guys on tour when they get in those situations where, all right, they're in trees and they have to hit this amazing shot. And obviously Tiger Woods is great at it. It's almost like they so much and they use their imagination and they hit the spectacular shot more so than when they're in the middle of the fairway. It's like it just changes.
Yeah, you know, and I remember a college tournament I played in. I was a freshman. We were playing in the Big West Championship for the Big West Conference. I don't even know if that conference still exists, but we were in Irvine, California, playing at this nice club, fancy golf club, and I drove it terrible. Like I was hitting it little left, little right, trees, overhanging trees, and I swear I don't know that I had a vanilla iron shot into any of the greens. And the round of golf, I think I shot 70, which turned out to be not a bad score in that morning session. Oh, it was called Big Canyon Golf Club, Southern California, really nice club in Irvine. And I mean, I'm hitting it in the right rough, the left rough, and they got these big eucalyptus trees and the limbs hang over. And every shot I had was like one of these or one of those or one of these, or hit it through this like gap up in the limbs kind of thing. and I'm hitting good shots. And then we played 36-18. And in the afternoon, I sort of figured out my driver. I didn't play any better hitting it in the middle of the fairway. I really didn't. I shot about the same score. I think I shot 75, and I swear I drove it way straighter, and I had like basic shots. So the point of that is when you're engaged in the target and you let the beauty of your subconscious kind of help, do stuff for you. Not to say you don't have to train in stuff, you do, and that's your job and my job is to train in some reasonable technique. But once you kind of let the beauty of your subconscious kind of see things and trust it a bit, it does some awesome stuff. Like you said, the intent.
Yeah.
My intent was to flight it like this through a reasonable pocket in the trees or around it, like not some kind of pinhole that I see some members try to do, which cracks me up.
Yeah.
I love it when an 18 handicap says to me, I got this. I'm like, buddy, Tiger Woods wouldn't hit that shot. Like he literally wouldn't hit that shot. And no, you don't have this. Okay. But there is room for the ball. I know there's room for the ball, but when he hits one of those crazy shots, it's because he has, it's like there's way more potential upside than downside, and it's in a situation where it matters in a certain way too. Right. The one I think of is Grant Waite when Tiger hit that great bunker shot on the 18th hole at Glen Abbey in my hometown. That shot's crazy to me, and because I played that golf course a handful of times, it's on the far other side, far side of town, so it wasn't easy for me to get to. But it was a course I'd played, and that bunker, that's not a shot mortals hit. It really isn't. Like nowadays, yes, because all the kids are fast and they can all swing a 7-iron 95 miles an hour, and it's just not a shot people hit. And yet Tiger did, right? And Grant played the game, the hole the right way, hit it in the fairway, hit it on the green. Tiger blew his drive to the right in this bunker with a lip, not a crazy lip, but a lip nonetheless. But, it was a moment he had to do it. Now in a tournament, if that wasn't the 72nd hole against the guy who was on the green in 2 already, I guarantee you, Tiger would have been like, okay, wedge it to here, wedge it on the green, probably hit it 10 feet, make birdie anyway. But Grant Waite, the issue, hit a good drive, knocked it on the green. So now Tiger's like, this guy might make eagle. And I have an opportunity to hit it on the green. It's a bit crazy, but I know I can hit 6-iron 210 yards. I can't, but Tiger can. And, he hit it on the green and that rattled Grant, and Tiger won the tournament.
The best was Grant Waite was at coach's camp 2 years ago, and he told that story, and he explained his reaction when the ball was in the air, and it was priceless.
Oh no, and Grant, when I played the Canadian Tour years ago, Grant was out there, and he's a classy guy, and he could always really hit it. Like he's a fairly good sized guy, and he had good speed, and he was one of those ball strikers that was the class of the Canadian Tour. Like Brant Jobe was one of them. Stricker was a good ball striker. Scotty McCarron was pretty good. But Grant Waite, when Grant hit it, like there was a couple of them out there, and I'm trying to think of the others at that time in that era that were really good hitters. And Grant was just, he just wasn't a good putter. Just to be fair, I mean, he could hit it, but man, if he could have putted it, here's a good example. You have Mike Weir, who's a good buddy of mine, who was a pretty good hitter, but Grant Waite was a way better ball striker than Mike Weir. Mike Weir was tenacious putter, great short game. If Grant Waite had any of Mike Weir's short game skills, Grant Waite would have had like a 20-win PGA Tour career, easy. You know what I mean? In a couple of majors, easy. Okay, but it's funny. God giveth and God taketh away. So you have Mike Weir, who's a tenacious scorer and putter of a golf ball. And then he started to develop a pretty good golf swing. Like Mike's golf swing as a amateur growing up, he's from, Sarnia area, not too far from you really, And so, I played with him in junior golf a little bit, and then we played a lot, as we were like later teens in like the Ontario Amateur. We went through college the same 4 years. We used to room together on the Canadian Tour now and again. And here's a guy whose swing was a little wonky, but man, the guy refused to make par. He refused to make bogey. And then if you want to see a guy, get it up and down out of the trees, that guy. Like he would creatively hit it out of the trees somehow near the green, chip it up, tap it in, ho hum, move on. right?
Yep.
So anyway, two different players, lots of ways to play this game.
You figure out a way that works for you and you just do it. I mean, it doesn't have to be pretty. You said it earlier. Scorecard doesn't say or tell you how it happened. It's just a number at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
curious, and this is a little bit on my end, and especially for some of our members, we all have younger kids. And, you know,
Yeah.
my son's very young. He's not obviously playing golf yet. He's hitting a plastic club. But you have a 10-year-old. Can you talk us a bit? I remember how I learned. My dad's a golf pro too, and I actually used to watch him give golf lessons. And the next thing I know, they say I was just hitting a golf ball because we imitate. You talk about how you got your son involved. Did he just like start watching you and just picked up a club and went with it, or?
Yeah, you know, so it's interesting. So my daughter, like, zero interest in golf. My son, total interest in golf. But you know, he likes everything. He got into skateboarding. I wasn't a skateboarder. He dug in on that. He'd watch YouTube videos. He would study skateboarders, and pretty soon he's doing board flips and crazy stuff off of stairs and on rails. And, you know, he's quite a good little skateboarder. And, you know, so he's keen to improve at stuff. My daughter, you know, golf isn't her thing. She liked dance and gymnastics. And so with my son, you know, it's kind of funny. And I think everybody who tries to help their kids improve, they're going to have, it's way harder to teach your own family, because it's so hard to stay it's like, I don't expect my son to be a great golfer, nor do I expect him to hit great shots. There's no expectation there. Really, all I want him to do is be a nice little guy, respectful of the people around him. Okay, that's all I really want. Now, he has high expectations for his golf game. Like, he expects to. It was so funny. Like, a couple years ago, he hit some shot, you know, blew one out to right or whatever, and he's all, you know, shoulders drop, head goes down, and I'm like, buddy, I said, that's, you know, I said, you don't really. I go, realistically, pal, you're actually very good. You don't really practice much. I mean, I said, your little skateboard, you would stand in the garage and he'd work on a kickflip 1,000 times. Like, seriously, he would be working on a trick on a skateboard like all day. Okay. Like, it fail. There'd be 500 fails before you'd have one success. Okay. So I'd say to him, I go, buddy, I mean, you practice this move on a skateboard 500 times just to get one. I said, you have a lot more success hitting golf balls. And he goes to me in his like 8-year-old wisdom. He goes, yeah, Dad, but when I mess a skateboard up, it's right here. When I hit a golf ball, I got to go way over there to get it. You know what I mean? So I thought, yeah, got a good point. Okay, you do. Go get it. You just go way over there. But, you know, he's starting to realize, like, golf is not perfect. You know, I guess part of the problem too is he sees we go play, and I shoot around par or better or sometimes worse or whatever. Then he sees me kind of hit it in play and on the green and in play. And so he thinks, well, that's just how golf should be. Right now we live on a golf course, you know, and I purposely, my strategy as a dad here was, we moved to Phoenix, you know, to start my golf school here, and it's been great. And we love it here. Summers are smoking hot, but I don't mind that, because the golf courses are empty, and we, you know, get in a cart or we walk with an umbrella shade, and away we go. But I purposely picked a golf course that was pretty flat, pretty easy. You know, I didn't go join some fancy country club because I didn't want all the rules of that kind of restrict a kid from being a kid. You know, and I've played a lot of fancy country club rules, and those are really set up mostly for that adult, not necessarily the kid. So we're at like a muni course that's pretty flat, hard to lose a golf ball, got big old trees, it's 100 years old. And so my wife and my son, and I was hoping my daughter, but that's okay. Maybe one day she'll maybe want to play. If she does, she does. You know, they go out there and they don't have a bunch of funky lies. The ball's kind of flat. You can go whack it. You can go get it. Okay. I think golf's way too hard. I think modern golf, these courses they built in the 90s and later, it's like, who are they building them for? You know, they're too hard for me. I'm pretty good. You know, never mind some newbie that every time they hit it, they can't go find it. Right? Like, the way golf was like a park. You know, you hit it another fairway, you go get it, hit it back and play. Or maybe it got hit by, maybe you're down by the base of a tree. Okay, got to punch it out. But, you know, Phoenix golf is, you know, it's kind of fun. And for those of you unfamiliar with it, it's kind of pretty. Desert golf, you have this fairway and you have deserty stuff left and right. Well, that's a tough way to learn golf, because you keep hitting it in that stuff, it's not much fun. So, back to your question about developing juniors, it's got to be fun first. You said, your little guys whacking plastic golf balls. They graduate from plastic golf balls to, almost golf balls, the foam ones, or tennis balls. And then pretty soon, they've got this motion that's kind of theirs, and then as a dad, or I would say my dad's best thing he ever did for me was, he taught me etiquette. He taught me, hey, this is how you fix a ball marker. He wasn't a good golfer. I mean, he was a 15 handicap. He loved golf, but he didn't try to teach me golf. He taught me how to be respectful of the golf course and how to fix a ball mark and how to keep pace. And to me, it was like, I think back to that. Here's where you stand. Here's how a shadow is cast. So don't stand there if the shadow's long. All the things that people don't teach anymore. I mean, how to dress, like simple stuff like that. And then he had enough sense to say, hey, here's a junior golf clinic. You like golf? Good. This guy knows golf better than me. So go learn how to do it. Right. And so I was lucky enough to be around a guy, George Knudson, who won 8 times on tour, who was starting to teach. And it was just random luck, really. And then next thing you know, I'm with this guy who hit it amazing. And he also cared for kids. And, I developed my game around other kids that were competitive. And then once you kind of get in that momentum of being around other kids that are good, now it's like, okay, the competitive nature, a healthy competitive environment takes over, and you want to beat that kid. And then if you have any success, like I won my first junior golf tournament, it wasn't a great score. I don't know what I think I shot 80 or something from a, shorty course when I was 11, and I won. So guess what? When you have success like that, you're like, you know what? I like that. I like winning. I'm gonna do another one of those. And then I won another one. And then I kept winning. And then I got to a place where, guess what? I didn't win all the time, right? It got more competitive, but I still enjoyed it. And it got to be where there was more, just showing up and winning. That's kind of fun, but it's not as fun as showing up and really competing nicely to beat other talented kids, right? So it went differently. It went from showing up to winning to, man, there's a group of really good players here, and I've got to nicely and correct in order to have a bit better score than those good players, whom I can name a few you'd probably know. But I just enjoyed it, and so for the parent out there that wants to get their kid into golf, you don't make them do it, right? I tell you what, a super fun thing for kids, and nowadays it's the easiest thing possible. You can buy water balloons that are, you put the hose on, it blows up 100 at once. Okay, there's a bit of cleanup involved, make them help you clean up. But I'll tell you what, you blow up 100 little water balloons and you get kids on a warm day busting water balloons, they'll love swinging golf clubs.
Oh yeah.
Busting water balloons, I do that with every little kid on a nice day. They get all wet, they're giggling, they're making big splashes. Who can make the biggest splash, right? Like stuff like keeping it fun. And then, they'll start to go, well, hey, I can make this golf swing thing, and hey, watch me. And ball goes, hey, look at me, I'm pretty good. Kids love being good at stuff, right? And so foster their ability to kind of develop by hitting the wiffle balls, tennis balls, water balloons. And then, when they can kind of have emotion, maybe a golf ball gets introduced, but they got to keep the little success ramp has to be there, because if they stop having that, they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, right? Because it's hard. So you got to, give them a bit of a, kick in the booty. But, I would say if you're a really good coach is going to let them start to, develop their success. I mean, I don't have one in my room, but just those little, just like the size of a tour striker ball, like little balls, they can whack those all over the place with golf clubs. They're not going to break them. And the thing, we used to play that game with my daughter and my son. They loved it. Okay, 2 clubs. One would be 20 yards from the other. It'd be like soccer, really. Yeah. They'd have a golf club, a little ball that Walmart, you get at Walmart or any sporting goods store for $5, and they would try to whack the ball through the goalpost, so to speak, and they were just whatever we could find, 2 rocks. Okay, so now the ball would go through. That'd be a point, and my son would be all cocky, or my daughter would whack, get all excited. And then if the ball missed, it would go way down there. And so they'd have to go get it. So there's some, they have to run and go get it. And then my daughter would put the ball down. And she may not even like golf, but she loves whacking that ball through the post.
Yep.
to beat my son,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
You know, we used to call it WAP. You know, just, you want to play WAP? Oh yeah, let's go play WAP. Okay. You know, and they'd whack this ball through, and now all of a sudden they're making these little things that look really good with golf swings.
Yep.
And also they're not hitting the ground.
Yep.
You know, one thing that George Newsom taught me was a big deal was never ever, don't try to hit the ground. And I know that's crazy, but you know, find a radius. I love teaching players, you know, like you can see the bottom frame of the screen right there. You know, make a big swing that doesn't hit the ground. Here's a funny one for your members. You'll get a kick. The members will get a kick out of this. And I guarantee you, Mr. and Mrs. Member, and I'm talking to you here, you're going to go take a practice swing with your driver, okay? And it's going to go thwap. Drivers do not touch the ground, okay? All drivers do is bend over tees and collect golf balls, right? But you're going to take your driver and go thwap and just brush it off the grass on the tee. And you're going to go, huh, you're right. I wonder why I touched the ground with the driver. Because you like the feeling of something, you know, whacking, and the driver doesn't take a divot and it feels good to go. But when you swing a driver, it just should be a swoosh, and that swoosh should be 1.5 inches off the ground or 1 inch off the ground. So I teach everybody to swing without touching anything, and then they can slowly bend over a bit to where the club can touch a golf ball. And by the way, when something with an angle hits something stationary on the ground, you get a reaction. One thing gets pushed upward, the other thing gets pushed downward. So that reaction creates a divot. You know, I never tell anybody to hit down. You know, there's plenty of down in golf. Okay, so there's just a cost of circular motion, and it just so happens that gravity makes the ball sit on something. But if there was no gravity, we would never hit down. We would just make a swing, and the ball would go wherever the face pointed it.
It's amazing when you're talking. The one thing that comes to mind to me is, you know, for junior golfers, golf's the one sport where you have to kind of give them junior clubs. But a lot of times we say, here's this small golf ball, go hit it. Where in every other sport, you know, in basketball, you don't give them a regulation-sized basketball. You don't give them an adult-sized football. We start baseball with T-ball. But with golf, it's like, here you go. And there's never been that transition of like hitting a tennis ball or something that's the size of a soccer ball like you do with your kids. And it just makes it more fun. They're not technically thinking it's golf, but they're working on that hand-eye coordination, the swinging, all that stuff's carrying through.
And also when you have if you do this with your juniors, I mean, maybe you already do, create like a goal, you know, get pylons, you know, go get orange pylons or whatever. And, you know, make it to where it's reasonably wide, like as wide as this room is probably, I don't know, 15 feet. And so the kid's got to run left and right to maybe stop the ball. Because the point is, don't let the ball pass you. But it's to qualify, it's got to be between the pylons. Okay. Sure. So now athletically, they're getting ready to shuffle left and right. Now the person, you know, whacking that thing is also, you think they're looking and they're reacting, kind of like Tiger hitting a shot out of the trees, by the way. And then they're going, you know, they're not going, you know, standing idly with their head down, making this wimpy, let's have success hitting a golf ball, dinking it out there 20 yards. They're trying to mash a ball, and it's smaller than a soccer ball. It'd be like a 6-inch ball. And they're trying to send this thing with velocity past the goalie, so to speak, right? So right away, you start seeing these moves that are, they'll get physical and they'll get sequenced down because it's just instinctual. Yeah. Okay. I don't care who it is. You know, maybe it's the chess club kid. That chess club kid is going to start to have physical sequence of an athlete trying to beat his other little buddy by sending this little ball through that, you know, the pylon. And I don't even care how good the golfers are. Maybe they're 12, 13, 14, 15. Maybe they already shoot 80 or better. Let them play that game too.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you'll see what I mean. It's like, one, they're going to create a radius, right? Because they're not going to be taking divots hitting a 6-inch ball. They're going to just create a nice radius, kind of measure to it, look. They're going to go, okay, try to get this. And then they're going to whap one, try to make it go to the right of the goalie. Or maybe they try to go to the left. Or maybe they just, for fun, just zip it right at the guy or gal. You know what I mean? And they knock it down. But it's a super fun game. And you'll see the athleticism develop pretty quick. And then some kid's going to win, some kid's going to lose. And that's life. Good. Hey, you lost. Better luck tomorrow. Hey, you won. Way to go. You don't get 2 little trophies because you participated.
I couldn't agree with you more. That's the one thing that drives me nuts. It's kind of like everybody gets a rhythm. Like we them that there's outcomes, a winner and a loser. That's good. They learn and they can go from that. And it reminds me, like, as kids get older, the best time when, you're 14, 15 is when the range picker goes out on the range. I used to have a blast. You're kind of hitting it low. You're trying to rattle the guy's chain, and it's fun. A game. And I think those ideas are great.
I'm pretty spoiled here, but I've got a Foresight right here, and this is my garage. Like, we built a house in Phoenix, and I made this garage like a golf space.
Great garage.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. And there's a game that Foresight has called Zombie Golf.
Nice.
So you can imagine, like, I turn on the projector, at about 100 yards, they have these, I don't know what they call it, they call it hives. I guess zombies live in hives. I didn't know that. But they live in hives, like bees, okay? And they come out of their hive, and they walk. And then you hit golf balls at these hives or at these zombies. And when the ball lands, it creates an explosion because you're actually hitting bombs at them. And it's probably a 20-yard dispersion. So it's actually pretty easy to wipe out zombies. You and I could play the game all day. Like, it should be a little harder, actually. But my son, what's funny is he's getting so much better at these little half punchy shots because he realizes that it's not a full swing to hit these zombies at 70 yards with his 8-iron. You know what I mean? So he's making these nice little 9-3 kind of swings, flighting these golf balls, trying to land this golf ball bomb into this area where there's zombies to take them out. And then, and it's actually fairly graphic as these zombies blow to bits. It's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So this like crazy game is so fun for him because it's reactive. It's not, if he misses, the zombies are still coming. So he's got to get another ball up real quick.
Yep.
It's not like, oh, I missed. You better get another one. The zombie's going to eat your brain, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty fun, quick event where the ball comes up, whack. Oh, here comes it's over to the left. Oh, this one's to the right. Oh, I've got this one's 50 yards now. This one's 80 yards now. Same club. You don't have time to change.
Yeah.
Now, that's not saying a whole lot for routine, but it sure is saying a lot for reaction and creativity and controlling the face and aiming right and aiming left. So this silly zombie game on Foresight is hysterically fun. I could see a lot of coaches that have Foresights, getting that software bid, because I guarantee you, if you had 6 kids roll through that zombie game, some kid's going to be all helium-chested zombie killer of the year. He killed the most zombies. And some kid's going to be like, I want to do that again because that was hysterically fun. And then the zombies get closer to you, and pretty soon you're like, oh my God, and then they eat you, right? Game is over.
I want to play it. Sounds fun.
Trust me, it's hysterically fun. And they have, I just haven't gone through all they've got different levels and stuff, but like the first time I played it, like there was a score of 10,000. So here's my brain going, okay, I guess 10,000 is the top. All right. I got, I went through it a bit, and I think I got killed at like 8,000 or 9,000. And then I said, oh, I think I can do better. And then I got to like 20,000. So it, like, Foresight is this network, right? So it says, well, Martin Shuck had a high score. And then I'm like, all right, then I played a third time. Well, I literally got to like 270,000. Okay, and my wife's calling me in for dinner. And I'm like, no, babe, I'm on a roll here. The zombies have no chance. I'm killing them all. My son's like, he'd already set the other high score. He was all helium chested because he beat me. Okay. Now I'm rolling through this thing like crazy. I'm hitting these punch 7-irons, like I'm taking on zombies. I feel like I am, Chuck Norris, the Walker Texas Ranger. I'm taking them out, right?
Yeah.
And so then I post the score up there, and I realized like everybody that posted their scores were like a kid. And here's like, pro player guy, beating up all these kids in this zombie game, right? And I can't wait for some other coach, some high level coach guy that can kind of still play, to post some scores up there. And then I challenged the Foresight guy who does the software engineering. I go like, dude, just make a crazy hard one where they're coming. You know what I mean? Because it would be the funnest minute of survival ever. Because they come kind of slow, so you got a chance to kind of somewhat organize. And and I'm going to have a bit more success rate in flighting in a 7-iron, 60 yards, 80 yards, 90 yards, and hitting that kind of a bullet in there. And that's another thing, right? Everybody thinks that golf is just one shot, whereas that game is kind of fun because it makes you creative and you flight different shots.
And I wish that was the way more golfers got into the game. You know, it's like have some fun, play these games. It's not worry about just hitting this perfect golf shot all the time. I'm jealous of
Yeah.
that. Sounds like a lot of fun. I have a TrackMan, and the only game that they really have on that's the Combine. But even that's at least a little fun because you're trying to get this score and like see where you are compared to everybody else. But the zombie game sounds really good.
Yeah, I mean, Combine, like I've done the Combine a couple of times, and I love it. And, you know, I have a TrackMan I use in my golf school, and I have a Foresight for the studio. And the Combine's great, but I mean, you can't put a kid through the Combine. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it makes adults kind of wither, never mind, you know, because you know your number's going to get posted, and people can go, oh, Jimmy didn't have a good combine, or Jimmy had a great combine, or whatever. Like I remember I did it a couple years ago, and I got an 86, and I was like, oh, like, you know, that was a really good score. And my heart was beating, my palms were sweaty, and I knew, I sound like an Eminem rapper right there, but I knew that like when I hit those next couple of shots, that it really reflected on how my score was going to be. You know, and I thought, man, this is great. So my high level people, I run through a Combine, right? My low level, my learners, it's more like just simple successes that they can build upon. Like, hey, you know, here's a 20-yard pitch shot. All right, you let me know how many balls of the 20 you can get to stay on this green, not close to the cup, just stay on the green. You know, so I challenged my 10-year-old son with that. You know, I put 20 golf balls down in a kind of not tough lies, but sort of random lies. And I had to go do something. And I said, buddy, I'm curious how many of these balls you can get to stay on this green. The green's reasonable size, you know, not close to the cup, because that's unreasonable. I want newer golfers just to be able to get it on the green and 2-putt and move on. Right. Sure. Now as you get a little bit better, get it on the green a little closer, maybe 1-putt, you know, give yourself a chance to say whatever. And so I came back, I'm like, buddy, how'd you do? He goes, 17. I'm like, that's really good.
Yeah.
You know, he goes, yeah, no, I'm 17. I bladed one, I chunked one, and and I'm looking on the green. Yeah, there's a bunch of balls on the green, like, way to go. You know, so that was something he was pretty proud of, right? And so those kind of like success, building that up is a big deal.
Yeah, I remember doing, you know, you do that stuff as a kid, as I'm sure you do, and those are the things you enjoy the most. And we almost have to get that into adults too, is to get back into that competition, the challenge. And when you're on the driving range, hit targets, you know, go to the green, try to see, can you get 7 out of 10 from 150 on that green, and then change it. And now you're making it more. So it's great. Those are.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we were talking about practice, and, you know, like, there's the technique piece, there's the skill piece, like, you know, hooking and like trying to be creative, high, low, you know, and be as wild as you can. And then there's the, you know, the game mentality piece. Okay, like, okay, this is one ball. I want to hit it at, you know, at that pin. I can hit it to the left, but I can't hit it to the right. You know, so making, you know, a practice session technique, skill, and then finally, you know, shot. Like what, and Andrew Rice says it nicely. He calls it, you know, skill, swing, and shot, or actually swing, skill, and shot. So, I mean, that should comprise everybody's, you know, whatever time they have, divided into those 3 buckets. And that's a meaningful session.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Martin, I appreciate your time. I know it's early in the morning there, and it's a family day, I'm sure. Enjoy it. Have some fun with your kids.
Bud.
Thank you so much.
We'll do. Yeah, you got it, man. Nice being on with you and your members. All the best, and I hope you're safe and get out on the golf course soon.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.